Even if we sell 1 million cars, we are still just over the line of death. Those are the famous words from Xpeng CEO in a recent interview. And holy crap, that interview shared so much information about the turnaround of Xpeng and how everything came back to life. They were in emergency survival mode, ICU, about to be on the brink of extinction, but they turned everything around, and now things are going uphill for Xpeng. January deliveries, 30,000 per month. How did Xpeng CEO turn it around? And can NIO learn something from this? Xpeng's turnaround story is a miracle, and it's really, really worth NIO CEO learning about what happened with Xpeng's turnaround. And I think a lot of the things that he learned, could be implemented as well with NIO's turnaround. So what happened with Xpeng? So back a while back, Xpeng's cars were kind of a little bit expensive. They couldn't really they couldn't sustain good margins on the cars. Couldn't really figure out what was going on. And then until 2023, when they hired Wang Fengying, which is this lady who used to be the prior CEO of Changcheng Automobile and had like 20 plus years of experience in the automotive industry, worked her way from sales rep all the way to CEO. So she knows the ins and outs of the company. And right when she got hired, she noticed systematic fraud at the upmost level, the upper management. And there was fraud going on in the upper management of Xpeng in the sense that they were getting kickbacks for raw material prices. What's going on? So the Xpeng's cars, apparently they're using some of the best steel available. Now, are they getting the best prices? Xpeng CEO asking his upper management guys, yes, those are the cheapest prices that you can get. But in reality, those were not the cheapest prices. What ended up happening was actually the cheapest price, let's say, was, for simplicity, $100 per ton for steel, just making it simple, all right? So what the upper management guys did was they negotiated with the supplier, hey, instead of us buying it for 100, how about we'll buy it from you for 120, and you give me $5 as a kickback, and you can earn an extra 15. The supplier, of course, well, of course, yeah, why not? We want to earn that extra 15. Yeah, so that's been going on, and it turned out that has been going on from everybody in the top management. The supply chain was completely full of fraud. 20 top management guys all got fired until the last few, which ultimately resigned once Wang Fengying, that lady, came in. And she immediately saw that you're overpaying for raw materials, you're overpaying for the steel, you're overpaying for even the damn cables. The cables in the car are being sold to you at an absurd price, which it shouldn't be that expensive. What's happening? Upper management is getting a kickback. It took them 9 months to figure all this out. And when they figured all that out, of course, they uprooted all the vile top management guys, fired them, right? Fired those guys, and then they completely changed the structure. Instead of the bottom people reporting to their bosses, and then reporting to their bosses, and then reporting to them bosses, and then ultimately reporting to the CEO, if a bad situation was really bad, well, once it gets there, it's a little bit less bad, and then it gets a little bit less bad. Once it gets to the very top, it becomes good news. You get what you get what's going on? So they simplified the management structure, and so what ended up happening was there's from 4 big zones, they just expanded it to 25 big zones for sales. Everybody reports directly to the CEO and Wang Fengying. So they simplified management structure. They changed the supply chain agreements. They made sure that they're getting the best deal for their prices. And of course, made sure that nobody at the company is sort of frauding the CEO. And how could this even happen? Well, it was because of the fact that Xpeng CEO came from an internet company. He founded UC Browser, and he's not really a car guy, right? He's more of an engineer, a smart, like a guy that knows more about computers than cars and supply chain management and that kind of stuff. So the upper management guys, they took this advantage and thought maybe they can get really wealthy and really rich by ripping off the CEO. And that's exactly what they did, using his, I guess, naivety, right, to essentially defraud the CEO, to fraud the CEO. So with Wang Fengyin, 20 years of experience on the job, knowing everything, seeing directly through all this BS, they were able to solve that problem. And then some other big changes. Direct to sales, all right, direct to consumer sales, no more. All right. Before, Xpeng would have their own flagship stores and all that kind of stuff, but of course, that kind of limited, because it's a very big investment, that kind of limited your reach. So instead, they changed to the traditional dealership model. So they're able to expand their reach to bring their cars to more people at more places. Something that NIO can also possibly consider. I know a lot of you guys are against NIO houses and what they stand for, all that kind of stuff. But I'm just talking about how Xpeng turned things around. Okay, I still think there's a need for NIO houses, but I still think there should be dealerships selling NIO vehicles as well, instead of NIO having to place stores everywhere to reach those places. But regardless of that, they changed to a dealership model, and that saw incredible success, bringing their cars to more people in more places, and also allowing them to lower the cost basis of the car. And then, of course, with their new supply chain agreements and being able to secure extremely cheap raw material prices, they were able to create the Mona MO3, their cheapest car. And when they were trying to launch this car, Wang Fengyin said, we're going to build this car. It's going to be cheap, but it's going to be feature-packed, bang for the buck. Apparently, a lot of Xpeng management guys were against this because it kind of goes against their philosophy. Xpeng kind of wanted to maintain that the medium tier, high tier kind of prestige feeling to themselves. But instead, she was like, no, we have to build this car. If you don't build it, you guys are going to be in a whole lot of hurt. So they ended up making that car, and voila, it became a huge success, a cheap car with great features. Cheap thanks to the raw material prices being low, right? And of course, that also brought them extreme success to be able to sell that car everywhere. So even though Xpeng's cars are a lot cheaper, and in terms of overall revenue from vehicle sales, NIO still has more revenue from vehicle sales compared to Xpeng. But Xpeng's turnaround is nothing short of a miracle, okay? And a lot of things can be applied here. And what's interesting was Xpeng CEO also stated that perhaps NIO CEO should look more into the supply chain and everything, and make sure that nobody at NIO is getting any sort of kickback, okay? And I'm not insinuating that there's any sort of upper management guys getting kickback from supply chain overpricing. I'm not insinuating that at all, but it's good to take a look, right? It never hurts to take a look. So very interesting, right? And of course, NIO is also pursuing the strategy of going very, very cheap with their Firefly car. And that car also is going to see tremendous success and potentially turn it around for NIO as well. And we know Firefly has gotten a lot of orders as well. But of course, if you think about it, with the dealership model, that would be very wise to have dealerships selling your cars, especially in places where sales aren't that great. Those tier 4, tier 5 cities. instead of having a flagship store, which is going to cost you a lot of money. So something to ponder about. And I'm sure, the NIO CEO and Xpeng CEO, they're great friends, and they're talking to each other. I'm sure they've shared a lot of advice to each other. And funny enough, Xpeng CEO said that they're going to potentially join the Battery Swap Alliance very, very soon. Interesting. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.